The appeals form is available online and we recommend completing it digitally using a word processing app. This makes it easier to email over to us if you'd like us to read a draft, to edit if we have any recommendations, and to submit online before the deadline. As with most forms, it starts with some basic information about you and how to contact you. If you do not check your university email address regularly, you might want to include your alternative email address as well. The next section will help you check that you do have grounds for appeal. It asks if your results have been confirmed by the exam board. This usually comes in the form of an email from your field or program administrator. If you are appealing within 15 days of that formal notification. If you are not appealing within 15 days of that notification, do you have evidence to explain why? If you are sending your appeal later than this, you must provide a valid reason and evidence of the reason that the appeal is late. Not being aware of the appeals process is not considered a valid reason for a late appeal. And whether you have evidence of exceptional mitigating circumstances or operational problems that impacted your outcomes. If you answered any of these questions no, it is unlikely that the university will consider your appeal. If you'd like further advice, you can contact the Be Supported team at BEDSSU or the adjudication team directly. In the final section on the first side, you should list any assessments you considered were affected. You should include your unit code. You can find this on eVision or on your Brio shells. Assessment type. For example, was it an essay, a computer-based test, an exam or a performance? Assessment number. The date of the assessment, meaning the deadline set. State if it was a first attempt, and the date you were notified of your final grade on eVision. If these assessments took place over a series of days or weeks, you will need to show evidence of how you were affected on all of these dates. The second page of the academic appeal is where you supply evidence and the details of why you are appealing. You should not feel limited to fit this on one page. If it takes 3 pages to provide a thorough explanation, then you should provide a 3-page explanation. This is another benefit to completing it digitally, as the document will expand to include all of your content. You are first asked to list all the evidence that you are supplying. Evidence is important, as it will help to support your case. Academic appeals will also not be accepted without supporting documents. You might actually find it easier to complete the following section, in which you explain your situation first, coming back to list all the evidence that you referenced in that description once it is complete. The university supplies and regularly updates a list of acceptable evidence in certain circumstances that we suggest you refer to. Some examples of evidence of exceptional mitigating circumstances could be a GP, hospital letter or medical certificate, a death certificate, or a court letter or police letter. Examples of evidence for operational problems impacting on academic outcomes could be photographs, screenshots or emails, coursework acknowledgement slips to prove you submitted your work correctly, assignment instructions with unclear information, screenshots from online learning resources, e.g. Brio, evidence that you have sought support from student support and or university staff about any operational issues. Remember that your evidence must match the time frame that your assessments were affected. For example, a doctor's letter that says you are unwell now will not help you in an appeal if the assessment date was 1 month ago. If any of your supporting evidence is in a language other than English, you will be required to provide a certified translation. This is not a service that the university can provide. If any of this evidence comes in the form of an email, you will need to ask the sender to send this directly to adjudication, referencing your appeal. The university will not accept forwarded emails. The remaining boxes on the second side are where you explain in detail why you are making an appeal. You will need to state if you are appealing under Grounds A, extenuating mitigating circumstances, or B, operational problems impacting on your academic outcome, and the circumstances surrounding why. Don't be fooled by the size of the box on the form. It isn't enough to write a sentence here. You will need to fully explain what happened and how this affected your academic outcome. It's important to keep it factual and to the point. We recommend detailing the timeline of events, explicitly stating key dates. Avoid saying things like, "On Tuesday they replied," and make sure you provide the full date and specific person or department who replied. We recommend referencing each piece of evidence that you have provided as it becomes relevant. For example, overtly write, "Please see doctor's note dated," after you have spoken about the illness that it covers. Appeals reviewers receive a lot of reviews and a lot of evidence, so making yours crystal clear will help them to understand your situation. People react to circumstances in very different ways. Stating you have received bad news, had a bereavement, and been unwell may not be enough. You will need to explain how this affected you and your performance. We appreciate this may mean you have to share some personal information that you would not under ordinary circumstances. You can be assured that the BEDS SU advice team holds such information confidentially, and any information you submit in academic appeal cannot be used by the university to prejudice you moving forward. If you are appealing on the grounds of extenuating mitigating circumstances, you should also include an explanation of why the university were not informed about this at the time it happened. Simply stating you did not know about the process will not be enough for your appeal to be upheld. You will need to explain why you did not apply for mitigation at the time. Be aware that the appeals reviewer, who reviews your case and will have no prior knowledge of your circumstances and will normally be from outside of your school, so you have to ensure that all relevant information they may need to know is included in your appeals form. You should also include the outcome that you are seeking. For example, have you had a second attempt already and are asking for an exceptional third chance? Don't forget to go back and populate the list of evidence at the top of the page once you have written your explanation. In the next box, you will need to include the dates that you were affected. These will need to match the dates of the assessments that you are appealing, supplied on the first page, otherwise you are unlikely to be successful. If your mitigating circumstances had started or were happening before the assessment date, you may want to include a short statement explaining how they still affected your academic ability. You will need to provide sufficient evidence to demonstrate how this affected your academic ability as well. In the last box, you will need to explain how you attempted to resolve your issues at the time. For example, what support you sought from student support or university staff at the time you were affected. Adjudication will check with various teams or people in the university, so you will need to state who you spoke to, when and how, for example, telephone or email, and ideally submit evidence to show who you contacted. You may also have evidence of trying to seek support from external organisations that may be relevant to your story. Finally, you should read through the declaration before signing. You will need to ensure that you include your full name that you registered with at the university and include the date on the form. If you would like support from BEDS SU's Independent Advice Service, you can forward your appeals form and evidence to Be Supported to look through by emailing b.supported@beds.ac.uk. Remember, your appeals must be submitted to the adjudication team within 15 working days from the date on which you received formal notification of your results. If you are awaiting supporting evidence such as medical letters that may extend beyond this deadline, you should inform the adjudication team as soon as possible, who will tell you if they are willing to accept an extension to the appeals deadline. If the appeal is submitted within time and meets the criteria for appealing, the adjudication team will forward the appeal and documentation to an appeals reviewer. The reviewer will normally be someone with significant experience of the university but from outside of your school of study, so they are unlikely to have any involvement in your case. The appeal reviewer should respond via the adjudication within 10 working days of receiving the appeal and evidence in full. If the appeal is submitted out of time, unless there's a valid reason for this, or does not meet the grounds for appeal specified in the appeals policy, the adjudication team will inform you that no action will be taken. You will then be informed of your right to request a completion of procedures letter if you would like to submit a complaint to the Office of the Independent Adjudicator, the OIA.